What are you making, bud?
Short ribs.
Oh.
I didn't realize I've done so many short rib recipes.
Because they're awesome.
They're amazing. But I haven't done a braised short rib recipe, I think. This is the one I'm doing here, yeah.
These are beautiful.
Yeah, they're really nice. Maybe sour cream.
We got a few hours?
We got a few hours.
All right, I'll be back.
Bye, yeah. So I have a lot of short rib recipes. I've done ones where it's like you go hot and fast with a boneless short rib, and you treat it kind of like a steak. I have that with a little bit of chili oil and vinegar that I love. I've done ones like a Korean style short rib, the flanken cut, where it's cut really thinly, and you do a really quick sear. And I have that with pickled daikon. This is different. These are short ribs cut crosswise into nice kind of square pieces. You see they have a lot of fat and collagen, so I'm going to season them really, really well. I'm gonna go high. Ideally, you would season this, overnight, but even if it just hangs out for an hour, it's gonna benefit if you season just that much ahead. But you wanna get all sides. It can take it, all that salt, just because there is so much fat on these ribs. These are really nice and well marbled. Okay, so while our meat is hanging out, we are using some dried chilies. These are guajillo. You don't want to go for kind of like a medium spice level chili. You don't want to go too hot. We're going to de-seed the chilies. So I'm placing the chilies in a blender because eventually we're going to puree it. This is 5 cups hot water, and we're just going to let the chilies soak in the water. And we're going to let this go for about 5-10 minutes until the chilies feel soft. We have our broiler on. We're going to broil 5 cloves of garlic. I'm leaving the peel on just as they act as a kind of like a protective barrier, some kind of armor to the flesh. The onions, gonna trim the hairs. You do want most of the onion exposed. That's why I cut them into rounds. And then I kind of just cut a little bit of the side like that, just so the onion's stable. No oil, just dried. And just place the onions on the baking sheet like this. I'm gonna pop them on the rack, just like that. But you know what, while that's going, I'm gonna do 2 things at once. I'm going to start browning our meat. Pot's been preheating. This is 2 tablespoons of neutral oil, grapeseed, sunflower, or vegetable. Okay, I'm gonna brown these in batches, not all at once because you don't want them to overcrowd, because then they're gonna steam and not brown properly. I'll press these down a bit just so they have a direct contact to the pot. You'll see around the edges once they start to brown, and then you'll check, but I wouldn't check before like the 3-minute mark, and then turn and then brown all over. It's probably gonna take about 10 to 12 minutes per batch. So you see how like the garlic has charred spots? I'm gonna just turn them over. This is looking pretty good. The onions have almost like puffed and unraveled a bit, or unfurled, but I'm gonna let them go a little bit longer just so these pieces get dark. I'm going for this. This could even get a touch darker. Okay, so it's been about 3 minutes. I'm gonna give these a flip. We're gonna let that go. They've definitely rendered some fat. You're gonna think I've taken it too far, and I'm not gonna agree with you. You want the top to be so dark, and so you have this contrast between the very top part giving this like smoky, slightly bitter flavor, and then underneath, which hasn't really gotten any caramelization and just has like softened a little bit and is still quite blonde and sweet. Our chilies have definitely softened by now. But to this, which is going to be our braising liquid, we have the dried chilies, the onions. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon red pepper flakes, so that's why it's going to get additional heat. That's why you don't need your dried chilies to be too spicy. Teaspoon ground coriander, a teaspoon ground cumin, and then I love this, a half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, which just that kind of sweetness from the cinnamon makes a big difference. All like warm spices, minus the chili flakes. Before I puree that, I'm gonna check on the short ribs. They look nice. I'm just turning them. You can see how they're rendering a lot of fat. And again, we're on medium-high, but I'm kind of going back and forth between medium-high, just to kind of really control the heat so they brown nice and evenly all over. We're gonna flip them a few more times after this. On the shorter sides, it's not gonna take as long. It might take like 2-3 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna pop these cloves out. They're really quite soft. They got a little bit dark, which I think will be fine. They kind of almost they get jammy and molasses-like. Okay, we'll puree this up. Since there's a lot of liquid, you don't want to go high immediately. And you just want the onions, chilies, garlic to be all kind of pureed. Not going to be perfectly smooth. It's going to be a little bit speckled from the onions, which is what you want. I feel pretty comfortable at this point since these pieces have shrunk up. I'm comfortable adding the last 2 pieces. Now, 2 things here. Again, just to go back on the browning, we're obviously browning the meat just so we get that kind of nice, deep, dark flavor around all over the meat. And you have the kind of brown bits on the bottom of the pan that are gonna add a lot of flavor to the stew. But you also are rendering the fat, you're breaking down the collagen. So that is something why we're doing it here rather than just kind of adding the meat and everything together and just kind of simmering it. So I feel comfortable pulling these pieces out now. Whew. It already looks pretty damn good, but it's so tough. You're not gonna want to eat this right now. They need to go low and slow. Low and slow. We have our short ribs browned, ready to go. We have our oil here. I'm going to just dump it. Let's see, it's not too hot. Yeah, see how dark that is? I don't need that in my braise. We have 2 tablespoons tomato paste. I add just a touch. It adds a little bit of acidity. It adds a little bit of umami. Right now the oil's getting hot. I'm just gonna cook the tomato paste at least 3 minutes, I find. You really wanna kind of fry it out until it slightly darkens and it begins to split like this. Afterwards, I'm gonna add my liquid. Add a little bit, and then pour the remaining liquid. Before I put my beef in, I'm gonna season the liquid just with a touch of salt because there is no salt in our puree. It needs a bit of salt. Oh, thank you, Tommy. You just want it to have some salt. It doesn't need too much. It's gonna reduce, it's gonna thicken, and as it reduces, that salt is gonna concentrate. So let's just snuggle these in like you would with your best friends. I'm gonna bring this to a gentle simmer over medium-high. You see around the edges it's starting to bubble. Once this is happening, you are going to reduce it. I take it down to just medium-low heat, and then just slightly ajar like this. You want some steam escape. This is essential. You don't want all the liquid to evaporate, but you need some of it to evaporate because you want it to thicken. I would let this go, again, on medium-low. If you see that it's bubbling rapidly, even on medium-low, just go all the way to low heat. Again, this is a really slow braise. Because the short ribs are a dense, tough cut of meat, you really want that meat to soften, that collagen to break down and get really nice and shreddy. We'll check back around the 3-hour mark and then see where our liquid is, see how our meat's doing, and then add a few other things. We're gonna check. It's been going for quite some time now. You can see how the bones have kind of popped out from the meat. It feels really nice. Not quite shreddy yet, but almost there. This can go for a little bit longer, but some of these are actually pretty ready to go. You're gonna see a good amount of fat rising to the top as it's braising. Try to skim not all, but a good amount of fat. Because the short ribs are so fatty, you don't need too much fat on the surface. Okay, so at this point, I would say the short ribs are pretty much there. They probably need like another 20 minutes. They feel pretty tender. I'm gonna give them one more check. I just wanna do a paring knife. That feels, again, a little bit of resistance, but almost there. I don't think it needs too much time. I'm gonna add some squash to this. Winter squash. Today we have acorn squash. They're cut into 1-inch wedges. But I'm just gonna add the squash. If your liquid has reduced by a lot, you could just add like another half cup of water. I'm just gonna make sure the squash is submerged. We'll let this go. It's probably gonna take, I would check after 15 minutes, could take another 20 minutes depending on how you just want the squash to be really tender and creamy and the meat to be shreddy. So I'll let that go again over low heat and then I'll check back in a few. Okay, so the squash is here. I'm gonna check on the braise. Oh, it's bubbling, okay. You can see the sauce has definitely reduced. I kind of like it in a stage where it's at right now where it's frothy, like almost saucy. And just test the squash out. Squash feels tender. Meat is definitely tender. I just want to taste the liquid because I seasoned it lightly and I know the meat has salt, but it might need a touch more salt. That's nice. I do think it needs a touch more salt. It has good heat, so much flavor going on. Okay. Oh yeah. I have some Greek yogurt here, but whole milk, whole fat, always. I think it works really well here. You just like you want that kind of tang and acidity to cut the fattiness from the braise. I like cilantro. Mint would work really well, but any kind of tender herb I would say works really well for this. Dill, basil, and then I kind of want to touch more acidity, so I add some lime, but you don't have to do that. This is on the thick side. You can thin it out with a little bit of water, add some salt. I'm just kind of going for a dollop over here. A little bit of cilantro. Hey Sola, can I borrow some flaky? I'm gonna add a touch of flaky salt. It's pretty straightforward, I would say, this braise. I think it just requires patience like any good braise. I think like charring the onions and garlic is key, putting them under the broiler. It adds so much flavor. Okay, I'm gonna take a bite. It's so good. It's so rich. It feels like a... I haven't had lunch yet, or a proper lunch. Thing is, it's definitely meaty, but it's not heavy because I think just the tomato paste adds a bit of acidity, and then the lime and the cilantro kind of cut through it. Yeah. The short ribs just are so fatty and delicious. I hope you guys make it throughout the fall and winter, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for watching.
Great. It can cut, sun cut.
How do you know that's in the frame or not in the frame?
It's not in the frame. The mic's not in the frame. They know. They just communicate. They like work
Or is that
together.
in sync? It looks so close to my head. It's not in the frame.
Well, we're not. I don't know.
I guess we're not using any of this.
That's true. Okay.